Buckle up. Let's talk Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, and if it is worth your cold hard money this weekend. At this point, the only mission more impossible than Ethan Hunt's might be convincing Tom Cruise to stop running. But honestly, I'm not sure any of us want him to stop. Let's get one thing straight. If you didn't like The Final Reckoning, congratulations! You've been brainwashed by the Entity. You know, the movie's all-powerful AI villain that wants to control everything, including your opinions. It thrives on division, doubt, and people arguing over whether this movie had too much exposition. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning once again finds Tom Cruise sprinting through chaos like his life and the box office depends on it. The film doesn't care if it's bloated or even half an hour late to its own action party. It just wants to punch you in the face with spectacle and sprint away before you catch your breath. The first act? Yeah, it's like attending a spy-themed TED Talk. Too many people talking, too much backstory, and the kind of exposition that feels like it needs a syllabus. In fact, I believe there's enough exposition to qualify for college credit in espionage studies. But then bam! The film remembers it's a Mission Impossible movie, and suddenly it's one of the wildest rides Cruise has ever dragged us on. There's an underwater sequence that'll have your lungs aching, and a plane stunt that seems to violate every safety regulation in history. The plane sequence might be one of the greatest action scenes ever filmed, made even more breathtaking by the fact that it's not CGI, but Cruise himself performing the stunts. The danger feels real because it is. These scenes are intense and unforgettable, showcasing the pinnacle of action filmmaking. This is action movie church, and proof that even at his age, Tom Cruise isn't slowing down anytime soon, and really is the last true movie star. If the AI villain were truly intelligent, it would have scattered Legos on the floor, Home Alone style. Mission over. Once the action kicks in, all that early exposition starts to feel less like a flaw and more like a carefully laid fuse, one that makes the eventual explosion hit that much harder. For me, Fallout was the series at its peak, and Final Reckoning is the victory lap. The stakes are higher, threats more modern with AI in the mix, and the end game in sight. There's a real sense of finality looming, especially as the action keeps topping itself. The supporting cast brings it too. Haley Atwell, Palm Clementif, and the heart of the team, Simon Pegg and Rames. Their bond with Ethan gives the film its emotional core, and it's a welcome counterweight to the action. There's also a callback to a character from the first film that somehow doesn't feel like a cheap, nostalgic throwaway either. LeeLoo, did you catch the reference from the first Mission Impossible 30 years ago? Oh, you weren't even born yet. You're missing out. And I'm old. Final Reckoning is about consequences. Ethan Hunt isn't just outrunning explosions. He's fleeing the weight of his past, the threat of an AI-fueled apocalypse, and the creeping question of whether it's finally time to stop. Ultimately, it's a story about people fighting to stay human in an increasingly digital world. That it's told through insane airplane stunts and face-peeling masks only makes it more fun. In the end, Final Reckoning may not be the sleekest mission, but makes up for it with heart, spectacle, and sheer cinematic muscle. If this is Ethan Hunt's last ride, he didn't slow down. He went out doing what he does best, sprinting full speed into cinematic legend, daring the rest of Hollywood to keep up. Which means, that's right, LeeLoo, you guessed it, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning gets an easy green light. LeeLoo, on the other hand, wasn't a fan. She felt this mission had too much briefing and not enough barking. But she also sniffs her own butt, so take that with a grain of kibble. Holy sh! Without Mission Impossible movies, Tom Cruise might have to resort to dangling from planes in his own free time. Which, knowing him, I'm sure he already does, LeeLoo.